Welcome into the Broncos Breakdown. I'm your host, Matthew Peterson. We're going to talk about some rumors going on right now as Week 4 in the books, Week 5 against the Steelers coming up. So on today's show, we're going to look at some possible wide receiver trade targets, all right? Free agent quarterbacks after the Teddy Bridgewater injury, and then some free agent offensive linemen. You know, the quarterback thing, the quarterback situation, I had a bump to the top of the show. So we had to make some changes because it's just that pressing, in my opinion. Before we get to that, though, help us out here. Get us over the hump. Denver, mile high. Do I need to say more? Crack open an IPA. Let's get to 4,200 subscribers. 420. We're so close. Subscribe today. That way you get all the latest Broncos news, rumors. You know the spiel. Do us a favor and do yourself a favor, honestly. We give you guys the best Broncos content, and it's all for free. Check us out. Subscribe today. Get us to 420. All right. So what started the show really was just doing my morning routine and saw this comment on one of our Chat Sports NFL videos. Could you see Denver signing a QB now? And I thought that was interesting that he used the word now because with Teddy Bridgewater out for who knows really how long, concussion protocol is never very clear anymore. It's very open-ended. You don't know how long anyone's going to be out for. And clearly there's not a lot of confidence in Drew Lock. You brought in Bridgewater for a reason. It's tough to envision this coaching staff really likes Lock for more than however long he has to play. So here are some QB targets, all right? Just names I looked up and names that maybe you could bring in for a workout if Bridgewater's out for a while and Lock flops in Pittsburgh. So Cam Newton makes some sense. I think he's got obviously the most experience, of course, has the highest ceiling, but did not look pretty. And it's interesting that no team has really called him despite a bunch of quarterback injuries over the last couple weeks. But Newton's going to require more money. Blake Bortles, familiar face for Broncos fans. There were some rumors that he was the reason why Denver had to start Kendall Hinton in that matchup last season. And Blake Bortles, I think, makes the most sense to me just because he's got some familiarity. The last thing you want middle of the season, a quarter of the way through actually, is to bring someone in and have to teach them the playbook. Start from scratch. At least Bortles can kind of pick up where he left off last year. He's familiar with the system. He knows the offense a little bit. You still have the connection with head coach Vic Fangio from last year. No Pat Shurmur. But another name here I'm looking at, Nick Mullins potentially. Mullins currently on the practice squad for the Cleveland Browns. You could swoop him in. And Mullins, I always liked him in San Francisco. Never fully understood why he fell so quickly like he did. I think he could be a great backup in the NFL. So those are three quarterback targets I'm looking at right there. But personally, I just don't see a move happening just yet. It would take some drastic poor play. One, it would take Bridgewater is going to be out for longer than expected. We don't know. You just can't push concussions. There's not a measuring stick. And two, Drew Lock is abysmal. And this is still a 3-1 Broncos team. About a quarter of the way through the season, this is not we gave it a good effort, had a good start, that's that. No, this is a team that's striving to make the playoffs, all right? And you just can't move on from it because the starting quarterback went down. So if Locke goes out there and starts off 0-2, 0-3, and Bridgewater's going to be out for a while, yeah, I definitely think they could bring in some competition. I know they like Brett Rippon, and I like him too. I don't think he's going to be a long-term solution just for this season, but they do like him in Denver. So my guess is it would take poor play from Locke, maybe even hopefully not an injury, to really start bringing in some competition. But those are three names that if they were to do that, those are three guys I like. Now, wide receivers. This is a little bit more pressing. This is a little more realistic. I can see this happening because Jeudy, ankle injury, even when Jeudy returns, there's not much hope that he's going to be Jerry Jeudy from the beginning of the season. Ankle injuries just don't get better after 4 weeks. They tend to linger throughout the season, unfortunately. And then you lose Hamler for the entire season. So, three targets I'm looking at, and they're in a specific order for a reason. First one up, Brandin Cooks. Easily the most sexy of the three options we will reveal as the show goes on. But Brandin Cooks, he's been such a quietly good wide receiver. I mean, if you ever heard the stat, he's gotten over 1,000 yards in 5 seasons. For whatever reason, he lives out of a suitcase. Hopefully, he is renting and not buying because he continues to jump around. And this Texans team is not going anywhere this season. Tyrod Taylor is going to be out for an undetermined period of time. I mean, producer Jeremy is a Texans fan. It's not looking good with Davis Mills. Yeah, they're looking for the number 1 overall pick, Jeremy tells me. So at this point, yeah, if you can get something good for Cooks, sell. But also, they are trying to win. At the end of the day, this is not a fan-run organization. Livelihood and jobs depend on wins. So they're not just going to sell Cooks because they go, well, we suck. Unless Denver blows them away with something, they want to have Cooks so they can be competitive. He has been traded twice for first-round picks, last time for a second-round pick. I think this one's going to be closer to a third-rounder just because he's gotten older. So this is clearly a progression. First, second, now third. Would you guys trade for Brandin Cooks? Don't have a proposed trade here because it's just a little difficult to gauge. I would imagine it would cost a third-rounder, though, for Cooks. Type T for trade or P for pass. Again, this isn't would you like to have Brandin Cooks. Of course you'd like to have him, but is he worth a third-round pick at this stage? And for the Broncos, I want to know what you're thinking down below. Devontae Parker from the Miami Dolphins has kind of been obsolete. He has not been incorporated and moved into this offense. He's just not been a focal point for the Dolphins, and that's why he's the second possible trade target on my list. You invested in Jalen Waddle. Clearly, that's going to move everyone down the depth chart. And earlier today, the Dolphins traded Jakeem Grant to the Chicago Bears. So maybe they're looking to clear house a little bit, and Parker makes sense. Again, he's not as good as Cooks, but that means he's going to cost less than Cooks. And all you're looking for is someone to hold you over until Jeudy can come back. I think Parker can do that no problem. And he's a fun, deep threat guy. And if Locke's going to be the quarterback for the next couple weeks, what does he love to do? He loves to throw it deep. Whether someone's there or not to catch it, or even on his own team, you know what he's going to do with the football. Trade target number 3, Denzel Mims. Trade rumors revolving around him has been flying around like 4th of July fireworks since 4th of July, honestly. The Jets clearly did not have much confidence in him when they went out in free agency and put a lot of money in Corey Davis, and they don't like Mims. They drafted Elijah Moore in the second round. Mims was their second-round pick from 2020 and has hardly seen the field. He has not been a major part of this offense, and it's reflected 1 reception so far this season. So Mims, I think, is an easy trade for the Broncos, and it's not going to cost you much. He's going to be cheap, and that's why he's third on the pecking order. You know what you're getting, all right? You're not going to get a ton out of him most likely, but he's not going to cost a lot. Now, with that being said, who are you trading for if you want to make one of these trades? Each one costs more as you go down the list. Brandin Cooks, Devontae Parker, or Denzel Mims. You see the options. Type it down below. I like Cooks. I really do. Now, I don't know if I like him for a third rounder, and that's kind of Captain Obvious talk right there, but I do like Cooks if you are a in this season competitive team, want to make some noise, then yeah, spend money to make money, right? Spend a little draft capital to get a lot in return. I think Cooks with Tim Patrick and Cortland Sutton, and when Jerry Jeudy comes back, that is one of the top wide receiver rooms in the NFL, if not the top wide receiver room in the NFL. BetUS, guys, has the hookup for you. 125% deposit bonus. I've got a great bet lined up. We're going to show it to you in a moment. But first, you just got to follow 2 quick steps. Chatsports.com/bet at the bottom of your screen. Then you use the promo code Broncos125. They hook you up with a 125% deposit bonus. It's one of the best deals. You put $100 in, for example, you got $225 to play with. Now, I was looking over BetUS's player props because I'm not in love with the spread. And if I don't have to bet it, I'm not going to bet it for that Steelers-Broncos matchup. But here's a prop I like a lot. Will there be a score in the first 6.5 minutes? No. Okay, you got Big Ben Roethlisberger, who's playing out of a wheelchair at this point, and Drew Lock, who haven't seen him all season except for one half that was not good. I don't see an offense moving down the field on either of their first 2 drives against 2 good defenses. Now, I could be full of crap at the end of this, But this is one bet I'm taking to the house. I'm putting big cash on it, putting the green. I'm talking big cash. I'm talking my piggy bank, which isn't that big. But regardless, make sure you check them out. BetUS. Use the promo code Broncos125 when you use the link chatsports.com/bet. Here's my pick. They've got tons of bets out there. Parlay, look beyond the Broncos. Whatever you want to do, BetUS has you covered. Offensively for the Broncos, the offensive line, despite a 3-1 start, hasn't been overly impressive, and I think that's kind of been forgotten because of a nice 3-1 start. But look at the pressures allowed here through the first 4 games. I mean, first thing that jumps out to me, no wonder Carson Wentz has 2 sprained ankles. His offensive line is doing him no favors, all right? The Patriots, Mac Jones, that's the last thing you want to see as a rookie quarterback. But the Broncos, this kind of surprised me. Didn't really expect him to be this far back on the list, but it doesn't help when you got some injuries. So look at the depth chart here. Dalton Risner was not serviceable in the Ravens game along with Graham Glasgow. That's your interior offensive line right there. You know what you got at your left tackle spot. Massey's been quietly pretty good this season, honestly. And then Lloyd Cushenberry, he's been very consistent up the middle. So for me, this offensive line maybe could use a tiny bit of a remake if Glasgow and Risner are not going to be healthy for a while. Looked over some free agents. This one looked the most appealing to me. All right, David DeCastro. Before I talk about it a little more, it's 4 weeks into the season. You're not going to find a lot of good options out there. The offensive line free agency pool at this point is pretty thin. It's not a deep pool. It's a kiddie pool, all right? DeCastro, still young, 31 years old, I'm pretty sure. And the reason why the Steelers moved on from him was just because he had a lot of ankle injuries that led to his departure. If that ankle is good enough to play for just a couple weeks, that's all you need, right? Until Glasgow and Risner can get back to full health, then, you hit it and you quit it. You use DeCastro for a little bit there. It's just an idea. That's all it is. But let me know what you're thinking. Should the Broncos look to sign someone? Y for yes, N for no. I don't think you have to do anything just yet. Maybe you look to do something after the Steelers game if it's just as bad as the Ravens game was, because the Steelers defensive line, they're going to put a ton of pressure on the Broncos. That'll be a big test on the road in front of a new quarterback. So Drew Lock, I'm assuming, will have all the first team reps this week. Even if Bridgewater is questionable, it just doesn't make sense to give Bridgewater reps and then have to put Lock out there. You plan for the worst, and if it doesn't happen, then fine. You put Bridgewater back in the game. But regardless, I just don't see how Bridgewater plays. So, once again, should the Broncos look to sign someone? Y for yes, N for no. And make sure you subscribe, too, so you can get all the latest Broncos news and rumors.